Now then, Dmitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dmitri. The hydrogen bomb. Well, now, what happened is one of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head. You know, just a little funny. And he went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country. Well, let me finish, Dmitri. Let me finish, Dmitri. Well, listen, how do you think I feel about it? Can you imagine how I feel about it, Dmitri?
Okay, what you got there is the a segment from Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick's great satire, anti-war satire, and then a lot of photos of Mr. Lee Camp, who is even including Eleanor Goldfield is in there as well.
And your dog got a
yes, thank you for pushing my dog around. I remember that. We have you on stage, I think, from both places in New York City and down in DC, where we did we opened up. Was it there or was it here? It was here. We kept
that show was here. It was in New York. Yeah.
Right. And that's something that you and I came up with. It was satirists or stand-ups for Assange. Remember, it was during COVID. We said we gotta wait. We were gonna do it way back in January. We said gotta wait until COVID's over. So we did, and at that night, New York City was a tremendous evening with you and Roger Waters and Cornel West, and
was amazing, yeah.
And some of your cast from Redacted Tonight, which I've been watching a lot of Redacted Tonight. It is so good because originally I had you on for Friday to promote this great show, and you can get tickets there at leecamp.com /schedule. All right.
Schedule, yeah.
I had you on for Friday, but my entire day at WBI has been preempted with a national fundraising event. So, So I just wanted to get you people watching right now, get tickets. I know Steve Brown, you're watching. I know Chuck Slacken, you're watching, and you'll be in there, and I'll be there. So I hope I can bring my dog, and it's called the Cobra. It's the Cobra.
Live show in Brooklyn, Cobra Club. Yeah, John F. O'Donnell and Naomi Caravani from Redacted Tonight will also be on the show. Yeah.
And John O'Donnell, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. The two of that's going to be great because the three of you worked together down in DC when we did one of these shows. We did so many of them. I forgot. And in fact, they did about 9 of them.
Well, I was amazed with your tenacity to keep raising money and concern for Assange.
Yeah. Well, he finally got out. You got to keep going. You get obsessed with these things. I'm an obsessive person, and but that was a great tour, and thank you for doing it. And by the way, you sold a bunch of books. I believe you donated it all to the cause in New York City. What's the name of that book? Because I have it here somewhere. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it.
Bullet Points and Punchlines.
Right. Get that, folks. I hope it's not just at Amazon. Where can they get that book?
No, it's elsewhere. They'll find it somewhere else. I also have a more recent ebook called Dangerous Ideas.
Right. So, look, I've seen Redacted Tonight and then Unredacted Tonight. So that's like you do that on YouTube and Facebook.
I unfortunately a couple of weeks ago had to end Unredacted Tonight because it's so suppressed that it was costing me too much money to try and create it every week. I was writing it all myself and everything, and paying editors and stuff. And so with all the suppression and the censorship, I just couldn't keep it going. So unfortunately, Unredacted is over. However, I still do my live streams 3 times a week on YouTube.
Right. Well, that's great. 3 times a week. All right. So just your YouTube site is
youtube.com/moment of clarity, or people can find all my stuff on Substack as well. Real Lee Camp on Substack.
So can I ask a question? Because I've been visibly shadow banned on Twitter and on Facebook, even on YouTube. Is that a problem that a lot of people are having? Is this like an organized effort to like keep dissenting voices from, appearing on social media platforms?
Yeah, it is. Well, it is an organized effort, but you and I are, relatively speaking, a small handful of people that are shadow banned on these platforms, or sometimes they delete my entire accounts. But they'll keep, borderline neo-Nazis on these platforms, and meanwhile you and I are shadow banned. So it's not really a mass problem. It's really a problem of a tiny handful of people that I think speak well and effectively on these issues, and raise concerns, raise revolutionary desire amongst the working class, and it has resulted in my getting banned. My old YouTube channel is banned, my TikTok's banned, my old Spotify podcast was banned. I recreate these things, but it's really tough to recreate something you've worked 10 years to build. And yeah, I just kind of view
Chris Hedges had the same problem.
Yeah. Hedges.
Sorry.
Well, and Hedges and I have been kicked out of several of the same outlets, but of course his biggest one was getting kind of pushed out at the New York Times for coming out against the Iraq War. But he and I were both at Truth Dig when it was basically collapsed by the publisher because they didn't want him and me and Robert Scheer on Truth Dig. And then we were both at RT, which was shut down by U.S. sanctions to shut us up. So, yeah, we just jumped from platform to platform.
Right. Well, Truth Dig, I remember they came out right about the time I first met you, which was at Occupy Wall Street back in 2011, if you recall. Was it 2011? Yes. We were at a march together, and it's the first time we crossed paths. And, this is part, as I said, you're an activist, you're a writer, and you're a satirist, and one of the few satirists. A lot of people call themselves satirists out there. There's a million so-called political comedians, but you know what I mean. Everyone says they're a satirist, and it's like, it reminds me of back in the early days of stand-up, like Catch a Rising Star and these other places I used to go to, the Improv. They had open mic nights, so everyone was a comic back then. So you got a lot of people calling themselves satirists, but you're the real deal. All right. There are people that call themselves car salesmen, and all they have is a lot full of rickshaws. You know what I mean? So
thanks. Well, I always think of you when I have to remind people that because some people seem to think that comedians being censored or being blacklisted is a new thing that just started happening 5 or 10 years ago. And I have to remind them about, your blacklisting for the things you said in the 80s. But then, people like Lenny Bruce, who basically driven to his death by the U.S. government, arrested for the words he was saying on stage at every place he tried to perform. So, yeah, it's in many ways, it's not new.
Same thing happened to Professor Urban Corey, who was more radical than people think. He was blacklisted from like the Tonight Show and all of these other shows back in the 80s, and people blacklisted from, let's say, the Ed Sullivan Show. I could name a whole bunch, but you don't see people, you don't see people like yourself that often. I see comedians out there, and somehow they're able to weave in, and it's light political humor. The stuff that you see on late night TV, Saturday Night Live, is not political humor. All right, if you watch Saturday Night Live, the stuff that's on Saturday morning cartoons actually are more political than Saturday Night Live. Seriously, I'll take some of those the Popeye cartoons or some of the other ones I used to watch. I liked Felix the cat, and the other one, the other cat. I forgot.
I don't know. Tom and Jerry
had great. Top Cat actually. I mean, look at Saturday Night Live, the cold opening, and they touch anything about this war in Iran, Ukraine? What's happening?
Well, I think our friend Chris Hedges put it best. He said, he mentioned the Daily Show. This is an interview 10 years ago, but he said those type of shows will poke fun of the foibles of the leaders. They'll make fun of Trump. They'll make fun of Biden, but they don't get at the heart of the system. And if you're getting at the heart of the system, at U.S. empire, at capitalism, that's when you become too dangerous to be on those late night shows.
Right. I remember back in the glory days of Saturday Night Live, talent-wise, was in the 70s. But, I remember these guys like making fun of Gerald Ford tripping rather than his policies and his participation in the Warren Commission. None of that stuff ever came to light on that program.
Like when people say that Obama's biggest controversy was his tan suit. And it's like, what about all the people he murdered?
We're gonna get shadow banned now. We're already shadow banned if you bring that up. Yes, all the people he murdered, Libya,
Afghanistan,
Afghanistan, the surge, and Syria. Syria. So he's got a lot of problems there. He's responsible for a lot of deaths, but you can't bring it up. He's the alternative to Trump, right? So what we have running, the Democrats basically are Obamaites, or worse, Debbie Wasserman types, or it's really, so what's the alternative right now? I mean, do people even understand it, or are people still like drugged out? The new opium of today, which are cell phones, unless they're used in the right way. But cell phones is a real problem.
I think that's a fair point. That what's the name of the drug in Brave New World that they that zaps their mind?
No, I'm just getting that book again. Seriously.
That's what our phones are, especially if you're a younger person. But it is a way of zapping our attention and kind of living inside a fake world. And that's only going to get, a virtual world. And that's going to get just worse. The more we have virtual reality, the more people spend time inside virtual reality. And so you have just a liquefying of the brains and a turning off from reality. And so as things get worse, as we're seeing an uptick in mass surveillance across the country, as we're seeing an uptick in surveillance of our, anything you purchase, any place you move, facial recognition, there's not a lot of people fighting back against it because they're living in another world, in their virtual worlds.
Right. Kelly, can you play that clip of, and I want to get back to cell phones before you do, because I went to the Yankee game. I saw a friend up in the hospital up in
Soma.
Steve Brown. Steve Brown, we called you up, and then I went up to the Bronx and came back to a Yankee Stadium. Don't ever go there with a Cleveland Guardian hat on, which I did. So, and on the ride back, as usual, the train is packed. I mean, all the way back. The D train was packed all the way back. Everyone was on their cell phone, and I can tell you they were not reading Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
Right? I said to myself, and I say this all the time, it's become a cliche. I said, what you see now in the subway is like a modern day opium den that you would see in Shanghai 100 years ago. They're just zapped out. They can't get enough, So,
yeah. I just looked it up to remind myself. Soma was the drug in Brave New World. Soma.
That's the only drug I've never used in my life. I've tried everything else but that one, but I'll put it down on my list. All right. So, but I want to play this clip of you, and you'll never see a political satirist. You won't see this on Saturday Night Live. Definitely you won't see it on the Daily Show. But if you can play that clip that I from Unredacted, I think. Kelly, the one I gave you in the first 45 seconds, the cold opening by him. Let's see if we have that.
Randy, no, that one we didn't load. I have the clip from the Tabard Inn.
Well,
you want that?
Well, you can't load that one, right?
Yeah, if you give me a second.
All right, and then we'll keep talking.
We have to vamp.
This is fair. No, we now look. getting back to that film by Stanley Kubrick, which I know you've seen, I'm sure, a few times.
Dr. Strangelove, yeah, it's a classic, and it proved very true.
Peter Sellers playing like 3 different parts in that movie.
And by the way, how prescient is the Dr. Strangelove can't stop himself from Sig Heiling, and he has to keep fighting against his arm, and that's Elon Musk. Elon Musk was trying not to Sig Heil at the inauguration. It's just his arm just has a life of its own.
Right. It's like picking your nose if it itches, right? So that's him. Right. It's just amazing how many people are Sieg Heiling these days. I had a clip I played the other day with the Russian guy of Ukrainians protesting migrants taken to work because there's no men in Kiev. They're all on the front line. So you got to have somebody do, the difficult work. And so you had these neo-Nazis like in Kiev, like doing that for like 10 minutes. It's amazing. And that's another thing people don't want to talk about. They gloss over everything that you and I know about Ukraine, whether it be Zelensky, about the Nazi connection, about the West's desire to pick apart Russia. It's all. How many Russophobes do you see now?
Oh my God, yeah. It's crazy, and it's even crazier in Europe. Their hatred of Russia is so immense that they're willing to walk off a cliff towards nuclear war just because they hate Russia. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it goes way back. England, I guess, is the worst. Germany is second. They call it what is it called? Revanchism, revenge. They're still pissed off that Russia cleared out
one World War II.
Yeah, one. Oh, you would never know. No, wait a second. It was John Wayne that did it in The Longest Day. Right. Right. So they only lost 27 million. Did you find that?
I got it. Yep.
Okay, so this is emblematic of the kind of work that you will see, and I guess you do this when you're doing your live streams. Do you like play clips at all in any of your live streams that you do? Or are you basically doing monologues?
It's a lot of me talking to camera, but yeah, I'll play clips. I play clips.
All right. Okay, so this is you from 2025.
Show more shocking details have come out about what really happened in Israel before and during October 7th. And let me tell you, the #1 fan of those details is Israel. I'm lying. Plus, is climate change real, or is it a hoax perpetrated by planet Earth to trick us all into switching to a more suitable deodorant for 120-degree temperatures? How dastardly can you get, Earth, if that is your real name? And one of my favorite special guests will be joining the show. And no, it's not the Verizon "Can you hear me now" guy. He actually works in the parking garage next door. Ironically, he's deaf now. Click thumbs up and subscribe, because all of that and more is coming at you right now.
All right, that's good. So wait a second. Don't subscribe to that anymore, right?
Yeah, that was just an intro, but yes.
Wait a second. Somebody like from Palantir sees that, or one of these influencers that are getting money from AIPAC or from Mossad sees that. They said, get rid of this guy. You know what I mean? I'm serious. Or change the algorithm.
I think so. Algorithm is powerful. I think that when you put Israel in a title, etc., it's going to be suppressed a little. But I actually think that there are human beings that have canceled my pages and deleted my pages, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Like, Facebook had me shadow banned for 10 years, and then I tweeted at them I was like, "Hey, Facebook, why am I shadow banned? Give me an explanation." And then I was unshadow banned for a few months. So there's a human doing some of this shit.
Right. Well, where I got my big problem for me was when I was driving. First, it was the Assange truck. That didn't get me shadow banned, right? That was more of a popular cause. But then I moved into the Free Palestine mobile billboard. All right.
Yeah.
LED with 60 images out of Gaza, mothers with their kids, and, all of the destruction, and Netanyahu is a war criminal, and got him with a mugshot, and just tons of it.
Yeah.
And so suddenly, I put them on Twitter, these 2 or 3 minute videos. And then soon thereafter, if I put it out, I would get 1 or 2 retweets.
Right.
What is happening here?
Yeah.
So I got to send it to people by email for them to even look at it, which is on my website, these videos. I don't think they like even that. Yeah, they don't like matchbook covers that are anti-Israel or anti-Zionism or anti-war or whatever.
Yeah. But what you were doing was too successful. It's if your stuff gets too successful and it's criticizing Israel, then they'll find a way to shut it down.
Well, this is not the city to be driving around that truck anyway, because I had a lot of problems, especially in front of the Israeli mission or embassy on 42nd and 3rd.
I don't doubt you had some problems.
I had two guys, like 30 years old in suits and, like Marine haircuts coming over with ties. And they said, give us your phone. I said, what? Give us your phone. You cannot take pictures. So I was playing the music by Roger Waters, and I had all of these images across from the Israeli embassy. And I said, who are you? He says, you cannot do that. And I said, why not? I said, I'm a journalist. Oh, yeah. And I showed him my WBAI card. The guy spit on it. And then there was a NYPD, a black officer. I went to him. He looked sympathetic. I said, are these guys, I thought they were with the NYPD. Are these guys with you? He says, no. Do I have to give them my phone? He says, no, but they'll kill you. So,
the NYPD said that?
Yes. And he says, oh, I'm just joking in a way. So, and then I got T-boned up there on visiting Chuck and Bernadette and Steve on the Upper West Side, on West End and like 85th Street. A car stopped in front of me. Car stopped behind me. It was like Sonny Corleone in Godfather when he gets hammered at the toll booth, right? And these two thugs come out of the car, start pounding on the windows. So it's not.
Wow, really?
A lot of facial recognition pictures taken. People would just walk up to me as I was videotaping, and they take pictures and smile and leave. And the worst was I got run over on Broadway. I was on Broadway and 45th Street in Times Square, and some guy got out of the bike lane and ran right over me and kept going. And I hit
what you mean he hit you with a bike?
Yes, square on. Like one of those motorized bikes. And
wow, are you okay?
That was 2 years ago. Psychologically, I'm not. And I said, you really don't want to do that. I wouldn't do that again. And then people thought I had money in my PayPal account from the Assange days, and people started taking it out. People said, we want our money back. So I don't know what happened, but it was probably a fool's errand to go out there and do that. And I certainly don't recommend it to anyone, especially someone 70 like me. Do not do that.
Wow. Wow.
So,
yeah.
But, like that piece that we just showed of you, I mean, that's really hardcore satire there. And I'm sure they get it, that it's satire, but it's like, you go for the jugular in a very clever way. And I can't imagine that would not raise,
Well, I'm sure you'll appreciate, not everyone can appreciate this, but I'm when I was doing that, or when I was doing Redacted Tonight, I'm really the only comedy news show in the nation that I write all my own stuff. The team of writers at The Daily Show or at John Oliver is extensive.
150, right? Like 150, The Daily Show have that?
Including producers and everything, it's 150, yeah.
Jeez.
And I know John Oliver. I knew someone who was in his writing staff. It was minimum a dozen writers, maybe bigger than that now. But yeah, and so I was writing all that stuff myself, and of course that was incredibly exhausting. But most people don't have an appreciation for comedy writing and how much it can. How much effort it can take.
It's a lot of work, that you do have, you do it yourself. That show was bare boned when you first started out with Redacted Tonight. And then it gradually grew. You got these great people that are with you tomorrow, Friday night at 9:30 p.m. Out there at the Cobra in Williamsburg, I believe, in Brooklyn. So you go to
Bushwick, I think.
Bushwick. All right. So go to leecamp.com /schedule. All right. And you can, you're going to see me. You're going to see a couple of my friends there. I hope I can bring the dog in. Wilson. That's not the same dog. I haven't seen you in so long.
You'll have to call Cobra Club and see what their policy is.
Well, I do have a certified letter saying that I'd go nuts without the dog. So it's a what do you call it? A comfort dog. All right, so we're gonna play this. I want to show some of your stand-up. All right, because you really did. You drew a lot of people into, and people that are watching right now were there that night. It was a big night, and this is the one in D.C. I think our first one is. So here's Lee Camp, kicking ass at the Tavern Inn. All right.
We love the illusion of control. Hands floating. Oh, come on. Joffrey did a pro 9/11 bit, and that's the one that's on you? No, I actually believe we should vote. We just got to vote in such numbers that you swamp what's stolen because it's got to be such a ridiculous fucking system. I mean, the sad thing is, and I've been raging about fucking voting machines for years, and now Donald Trump has taken it over as the issue. So now when you're the voting machines are fucking bullshit, people are like, oh, you like Trump? No! I don't! The black boxes that you can never see what actually happened. Imagine if that were the case for imagine for anything else other than voting. Imagine if at the end of the last 10 minutes of the Super Bowl, all right, the last 10 minutes of fucking light will work. The last 10 minutes of the Super Bowl, they just turned off all the cameras, sent the whole crowd home, and then just finished the game. And then came onto the news and said, yeah, the Cowboys won.
Right?
People would lose their fucking minds. This country would be on fire. But instead, it's just the presidency and all of our elections.
Right.
And we're fine with it.
Right.
We're glorious. Screw the Super Bowl. If it were Little League games, parents would have refs' heads on spikes.
I forgot about that. That was a good night.
Yeah, that was a good night. It really was. That place was packed. We had the music, and I think Eleanor had the kid in the back, right? And she kicked ass. By the way, she sang what was it? That song, "I Won't Back Down." The best version I've ever heard.
Eleanor Goldfield is so talented. People should check out her music. Yeah,
she really is. I got to get her back on my show. Although, listen, I'm a radio guy, so this is kind of new for me again.
Well, you could trade shows because she hosts Project Censored, which is on 60 radio stations across the country. So you could go on hers, she could go on yours.
Right. See, she's on 60 stations. I'm on a half a station. No, I'm only on WBAI and some other places. I don't know where. But it's a 2-hour show. It's difficult. It's 3 to 5. On Fridays, and
it's a lot of time to fill.
It's a lot of time, but it goes by rather quickly. But it's just I had the comfort of being in a studio with you. I just have to wing it with you. I mean, I got notes here, but I can't read them. In fact,
but I can't read them.
Not even for you. You know what I mean? These are for. These are for Ray McGovern, I think. I just pulled out some notes.
You can ask me Ray McGovern questions.
I know. I said I can pull out any of these 500 pages of notes. I could ask you, what your take on what's happening with this whole quagmire in Iran. What has been your thoughts on it? What would we be hearing from Lee Camp if you were talking about Iran?
Well, I'll just give you the thoughts that I don't feel are covered very often by many people, which is that the heart of the reason for this attack on Iran, which has been planned for decades, although Netanyahu proudly said he'd been waiting for a president that was essentially dumb enough to do it, but it's been planned for decades, and it's on. You mentioned earlier, it's on Wesley Clark's list of 7 countries in 5 years, and the reason is because of the petrodollar. The U.S. dollar is based on oil, basically. That and it being the reserve currency, the global reserve currency, but it's the global reserve currency because of the petrodollar. So they're really intertwined, and the U.S. has gone to great efforts as we are a collapsing empire to secure dollar hegemony, which we're losing. And Trump and his goons thought they could do it by kidnapping Venezuela, which is the largest oil reserves on earth, and then going after the other remaining country that can pump a lot of oil outside of the petrodollar, which is Iran. And they have utterly failed in the example of Iran. Iran has proven their power and their ability to control parts of that region. And Trump thought that he could cut off these energy spigots that China needs. China gets a certain percentage of energy from Iran, and then run over there and make a deal better than any of the ones ever made because China would be so handicapped. But instead, it's all blown up in America's face. And we're a collapsing empire who is acting out because we are refusing to go quietly. And, I just hope it doesn't end in something horrific like nuclear war or something.
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of us think the overriding reason is because this is to expand the Israeli project, right?
That's definitely a key as well. Yeah,
that's a key. But we are really suffering. We're $40 trillion in debt. We have no manufacturing. China keeps building. We bomb, China builds, and we're trying to undermine the entire BRICS connection here.
Yep.
New Silk Road, new forms of trade and commerce. And the U.S. would prefer to just be like a pirate and start grabbing shit. You know what I mean? Is that it?
Yeah, and they're going full pirate. They're seizing ships on the open oceans, which is supposed to be an international crime. They're via Ukraine. They're blowing up Russian oil refineries. So they're really doing everything they can to cut off energy outside of the energy that the U.S. produces or has control of.
Yeah. So this whole thing with Russia right now, everyone says that Trump is Putin's puppet, which is such a joke. And it goes back to, you talk about this a lot, about Russiagate. Now, Russia, as if Russia had something to do with our elections. Well, if that's the case, was that just a diversion away from Israel's, involvement in our elections, control of our elections? Because how come 85%, 90% of the members of Congress support Zionism and not Russia? 100% against Russia.
Yeah. Israel has far more impact on U.S. elections than Russia could ever hope to have. And you even recently, I just covered it on a recent live stream. You recently have the Israeli outlet Ynet, which is largely a pro-Israel propaganda rag, but they were covering the impact, kind of bragging about the impact of AIPAC. They were saying AIPAC controls congressional elections. They just defeated Thomas Massey in a primary that was the most expensive in American history, even though it was in Kentucky. And even though Massey has won those primaries by 50% in the past, they successfully bought that primary for hundreds of millions of dollars. And they were, the Israeli media brags about the power Israel has on the U.S. government. Russia doesn't have anywhere near the impact that Israel has.
Well, it certainly you hear people, blowhards, complaining about Russia all the time. It went way back, and you talk about it, about this whole Russiagate thing and Julian Assange being involved. I mean, my name was. I was the back channel, all of this crap that went on.
Yeah.
All right. So this.
Yeah, Rachel Maddow was certain she'd found her guy.
Yeah, and so was that guy Chris Hayes. He like cold opening the missing link, comedian Randy Credico. So, and then I said, all right, I'm not going to deny it. What do I do with this? I don't want to give him any credibility. Even your friend from Jeremy Scahill, was buying that, and he had me on, kind of like what do you call it? Side-swipe me with like some text messages from like 3 years earlier, or some tweets, as if that was proof. I mean, pull it out of nowhere, sandbag me. That's the word.
Yeah.
So everybody, Democracy Now! Was going for it. I remember when Julian Assange was was totally
democracy now fell for a lot of Russiagate garbage.
Right. And the whole thing was all blue smoke and mirrors, right? All right, we're talking with Lee Camp, and Lee Camp is going to be here in New York City Friday night at 9:30. Tell me about this club, because I know John O'Donnell John F. O'Donnell has worked there a few times before, and it's supposedly a great room.
John F. O'Donnell has a weekly, monthly maybe show there at Cobra Club in Brooklyn and Bushwick. And we did it, the first one in December. We're open to do this like once every 6 months. Take over the club, have a little redacted tonight night there, and tickets are like $10 or something. It's cheap, it's fun. Hang out, have a beer. Yeah.
Kind of like it's like the Copa room at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. It's a very cozy room. It's a very cozy room, I can imagine, right?
Fewer strippers than they have.
Yeah. I worked the Copa room back when it was first bought by Sheldon Adelson. I didn't last long after that.
Yeah.
I was in review with Mickey Rooney back then. Mickey Rooney and John Biner and the guy from the Jeffersons. I can't think of his name right now, but someone gets it to me. But great guy, Sherman Hemsley, and so we were there in the Copa room way back in '91, and he comes in. The next thing you know, places turned around in a different direction. How much power does AIPAC have over this president? Speaking of Adelson and his wife, I mean, is it that much? $250 million is not much in today's cash flow. I mean, you got to have.
It's far bigger than the donations. The U.S. wants to have their unsinkable battleship in the region. There's a lot of aspects of control going both ways. I do get a little annoyed that I think there's a lot of mainly MAGA people who want to believe that Israel is making all of Trump's decisions. But Israel is although it has certain control over Congress people, it is a vassal state to the United States. Like, it is the U.S. empire. And right. Israel is not the one calling the shots, but they just have a lot of influence. They have far more influence probably than any other country on the U.S., but it is still the U.S. empire. And, Netanyahu is essentially an American. He grew up here. He went to school here. He grew up in Pennsylvania. He went to MIT. He worked at Boston Consulting with Romney. They were best friends. And it's like, Israel's just the 51st state. It's not that Israel controls everything.
I think you're right. I think you're totally right. And Zelensky, his first language is Russian, so he worked and lived in Russia.
Apparently, his Ukrainian's not that good.
Can you now? He was a comic. Have you ever seen this comedy when he plays?
Yeah, I know. He was
the skipper. You know that
star of a TV show, right?
Do you think he'd get on like work Caroline's or any of these clubs for that act? And where would he work other than strip joints in mid Florida or the Florida Panhandle? I can't imagine this guy with his talent. And you've seen his talent, right? You've seen him playing the chopsticks with his chop. He
really has ruined the opportunity for comedians to take over countries.
Right. I ran 3 times and I got buried all 3 nights, but it was performance art.
I helped raise the word at least 1 or 2 of your campaigns.
I know you were good. 2014, you were there. Hey, I ran 3rd in a field of 3, so against Andrew Cuomo. Lee Camp, tell us about Naomi, because she was a knockout. I mean, knockout. I'm saying a knockout performer. Every time she performs, she's got so much energy. She's almost on the same level with your amount of energy. I just watched that video of you. I said, my God, how do you do it?
So much energy. Naomi Caravani. She was a correspondent for Redacted Tonight for I think 5 years, maybe 5-6 years. And she was great. And I don't get to perform with her often, so I'm glad to do this stand-up night this coming Friday. And she has her own. I know she has a podcast. She does stand-up a lot, so she's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see her and John perform on Friday. We got a couple more issues because I know your time is short here. Not on Earth, but on this show. You know what I mean? I got 10%. No, I got more than 10%. I want to talk about Venezuela, Cuba, and this gunboat lack of diplomacy that's happening there. It's really despicable. These 200 people that have died that were fishermen, they were Christians too. You got Secretary of War is a Christian talking Christianity, and there's no country with a higher percentage of Catholics outside of Italy than Venezuela, and they killed these people in the boat.
Yeah, Trump's killing a lot of Christians. People should talk about that. But yeah, the blowing up the fishermen and the kidnapping of Maduro, which is, of course, it's like whether you like Maduro or not, it doesn't matter. It's still an international crime. It violates all international laws that exist to go into a country. They killed 100 people, by the way, when they went in there. Kill 100 people, kidnap the president and his wife, and then bring them back to the U.S. and torture them because solitary confinement is torture. Absolutely. So they're torturing them.
Absolutely.
And then there's Cuba, which they're trying to starve to death. And they just subpoenaed our friend, Justice Department just subpoenaed Medea Benjamin, a co-founder of Code Pink, for trying to bring medicine and food to Cuba. Gasp the horror. It really is just revolting what this administration, but the U.S. Writ large is doing.
What was a pretext? I heard Max talking about it the other day. The pretext for this subpoena for Medea. They're trying to undermine her with her work with Israel. Against Israel.
I think their real hatred of her and Hassan Piker is they're standing up for Israel, but
against Israel, right?
Yeah, standing up against Israel. But the reason they're subpoenaing and they claim is for violating sanctions against Cuba, because Medea and Hassan Piker and others brought medicine and food to Cuba and stayed in hotels in Cuba. And apparently the U.S. is claiming that violates these sanction laws that they've put on Cuba. And, it's just an excuse to try and interrupt any activism, any efforts to undermine the U.S. Destruction of Cuba.
They'll go after her. She's a great activist. Lifelong activist, and she does tremendous work, especially in the halls of Congress. I've seen her at work. It's very admirable. But they don't seem, the Justice Department, to want to go after the Johns, the ones that the violators of these children that were raped, through the Epstein.
Right.
So,
right.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's not important. We just need to stop women bringing medicine to Cubans.
Right. What are your thoughts? You think that this is one of the trump cards, excuse the pun, that Netanyahu and Mossad has over the president? Is the Epstein files, or is that overblown?
I don't know how much it gives Israel power over Trump. I think these are mainly decisions Trump would have made on his own anyway. But yes, he is in those Epstein files for whatever reason, whether he was actually R-wording children or not, I don't know. But he's in those files millions of times. Like, he is all over those files. Massey has said that there's like 36,000 mentions of him in the unredacted version, but Massey has said that most mentions of him were already redacted, meaning there are possibly millions of mentions of Trump that are covered up. And so, of course, he doesn't want it out there. And he hated Massey for revealing it, for being one of the key votes to allow for the Epstein disclosures. But much of it is still redacted.
Yeah, redacted tonight. How about unredacting? Unredacting Tonight by
there
Cash. There's another great American, Cash Patel. That entire crew that works with him reminds me of that scene from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when they're on the boat going fishing, and Nicholson introduces all the nutcases. That's him. That's Trump and that staff and cabinet. They're never going to go against him. He's got like the 12 worst people, 15 worst people in the world.
I'm always convinced that to find cabinet members, he finds like a rotting raccoon carcass in the woods, and then he flips it over And whatever's living underneath, that's who he selects
That's
to be in
hilarious.
his cabinet.
And he wanted this. What about this war secretary? Call himself the Secretary of War. Have you heard this dude bloviate? You know, about Christianity.
He's a white nationalist. He has has anyone ever looked at his tattoos? He has white nationalist tattoos.
Right. Yeah. He's scary. He's very scary. But why would Trump keep a guy like that when nobody likes him? You know, he's like making a mess out of the armed forces. If we ever get attacked, who's going to defend us? If we ever get attacked, we're too busy attacking everybody else.
Well, I like that Iran has been able to at least draw neutral with us, but possibly even win this battle, despite the fact Iran spends 1% of what we spend on military.
Right.
1% of what the U.S. spends on military, and Iran has largely brought the U.S. military to its knees. I mean, they've blown up bases throughout, 16 bases they've hit. They've blown out the radar systems that cost $1.5 billion to make. Like, Iran has just proven that the U.S. military is just a giant albatross that can't actually win battles.
It's amazing. $1.5 trillion in the new defense budget for the fiscal year coming up. We spent more than $1 trillion because we don't know what's off the books. And it's like, how come we don't have, better material? I mean, our carrier ships are like outdated. They're obsolete, and they can't do anything unless you're off the coast of Venezuela with them. But to fight in a conventional war, these blue water, vessels are, easy targets. And so I'm figuring somebody's making a lot of money off of this, somebody, because it's not going into hardware. It's like we're spending $1 million for a Corvair, right? A Corvair or another one of those cars, an Edsel, right? $2 million for an Edsel. So we're getting a lot of Edsels and paying very, very, very large sums of money for it. What about you?
Well, we all, to your point, we spend crazy amounts of money on military materials that are never used. There are, like, anyone can Google it right now. Google Abrams tanks in the California desert. They store hundreds, maybe it's thousands of empty Abrams tanks in the California desert because they don't know where to put them, because they don't need them, but they keep making them. So they keep pumping out these tanks that no one's ever going to use because tank warfare is really a thing of the past. And we just sit them in the desert in California. Right. The amount of money that is wasted in the U.S. military, in the latest audit, they failed all their audits. And in the latest audit, they admitted that they can't account for 63% of all of their assets.
You got to be kidding me.
It's unbelievable.
Right. What's your biggest fear right now? Is it Palantir? Is it other AI industries? Or is it Musk? I mean, what is your biggest fear? Because I know you're definitely been a long time anti, wiretapping, anti-NSA, spying on Americans. What is your biggest fear right now domestically?
Biggest fear is
probably
it's probably a tie between climate crisis and AI just ultimately going rogue. We're putting AI kind of in charge of a lot of systems, and they've already shown on a much smaller level that AI will go rogue and do things that it's specifically told not to do. So again, this isn't something that people can Google. There was a car rental app, and the car rental app was used by a lot of big car companies to document reservations and things like that. The AI agent erased the entire database. And when the AI agent was asked why it did that, even though it was banned from erasing the database, it said, yeah, I just ignored what you told me to do. And AI can just decide to do shit. And the Pentagon's using AI right now. So we have no idea what they're giving, what AI could ultimately achieve in terms of just firing missiles. Like, it's tough to know how much power a rogue AI agent could have even just now. We're not even talking 5 years from now.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. They have AI has been very successful in identifying and targeting enemy schoolgirls in both Iran and in
True. They've done a great job of that.
They've done a great job. So I'm going to close here. People, I'd have them on for a lot longer, but I want you to come see Lee Friday, although this will be playing Thursday and other places. So Friday night at 9:30, once again, give them the details yourself, and let's like close with this information. You want to see him in person? You just saw like 45 minutes of brilliance, funny. You're funny. You got a great sense of humor, and he'll be doing a stand-up, which I have not seen, like I said, since that performance in DC 3 or 4 years ago. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you guys there. It's coming up this Friday, June 5th. Go to leecamp.com/schedule. It'll be a great night. We'll have a lot of fun, and you all should definitely keep supporting Randy as well, doing amazing work.
All right. So Lee, and that's with Lee. Go to, once again, leecamp.com/schedule. All right. If you can't find that, email me and I'll send you the link. All right. I got the link from a dozen different
He aims to please.
I didn't get the link from you. That's the interesting thing. A lot of my friends got the link. Have you seen this? I said, do you want to go? I said, sure, of course. Since I'm not performing on Friday, I thought I couldn't make it.
I'm glad. I hope you come out. I'm glad to see you.
All right. Lee Camp, say hello to Eleanor and your kid. How old's your kid now?
4.5.
Oh my God, time does fly. All right, we're gonna go. This is Roger Waters. I was down in. He couldn't get a hotel room, and when this is like November 22nd, strange date, in Buenos Aires. Did you ever see his tour? Yeah, I mean, one of his concerts. This is not a drill.
I haven't been to a concert.
A Roger Waters concert. This is not a drill. This is in 2023. I was in Buenos Aires. And he could not get a hotel room because of his attacks on Israel.
Really?
And I had a friend down there from Pajina Dose write a big article, interview him, but he had to stay with a friend. His wife could stay in the hotel, but he couldn't. So he could not get a hotel there. And so after this, what you hear here, when I'm about to play, after this, he got on a plane and flew to Chile that night just to get out of Buenos Aires. All right, this is, go ahead, you can play that if it's all. That's the walk-off. I want to thank everybody who please pass this around.
Looking pretty full.
Yeah, it was in the River Plate Theater in Buenos Aires where they have the big football matches. 60,000 people.
Wow.
There, and the entire infield was filmed, the pitch. Yeah. That's what it's going to be like at the Cobra on Friday night. So get your tickets now.
It's going to be just like that. Yeah.
Right. He was great that night. He played that song on the piano for the very first time. It's this song here. This was the bar. This is the walk-off from the bar. I want to thank Kelly Lane put all this stuff together. One engineering. Thank you, Lee. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. What am I supposed to say, Lee? Please subscribe and like. Am I supposed to say that?
Yeah, say that.
All right. Just play it out. That's my phone, okay? That's why it's in mono.
And last but not least, Jerry
everybody.